Great to have you along for the ride. Thanks a lot for stopping by. Really glad to have back a couple of friends of mine. It is country music superstar John Rich, and also Dr. Simone Gold. Both of you, it's so great to see you both. Hopefully the new year is starting out right. How are you?
Great.
2025 is going to be a fabulous year.
It is. We've got, what do we have, 4 days now until we get the big changeover in Washington? I mean, it's got to feel good. John, I want to start with you if you don't mind. You and I have been talking about the remaking of America, the resurgence of people waking up and noticing what's been going wrong and kicking out the losers that have been doing it. Just give me your perspective heading into this new year. Before we get into Gold Care, which I want to get into in earnest in a second, you got to be feeling good about what's happening.
Yeah, I mean, I think we dodged an absolute runaway freight train that was headed straight at the heart of this country, was getting ready to knock us out. And thank God Trump won and didn't just sort of win. He won in a major way that nobody can ignore. I think the last 4 years, as we've seen the tyranny rain down on us, it caused a lot of us to stop yelling at the TV so much and actually get up and figure out what we can do to have options going forward. I think that's one of the greatest things that has happened in the last 4 years is understanding that institutions that you always trusted are not trustworthy.
Yes.
Politicians you used to always trust are not trustworthy. When it got to COVID-19, I used to always trust the CDC and the NIH and the FDA, and I always thought Pfizer, Moderna, and Johnson & Johnson, I mean, these are huge companies. They're not going to give us anything that would hurt us. I mean, that's what I thought right before all that hit. And then as those years progressed, unfortunately, we learned, no, these are not good people and they're not truthful. And on top of that, your own doctor, which the one I'd had for 15 years, never had a problem with her when those protocols came down about COVID and about the vaccine, especially. I would go in there and she's sitting there pressing me to take these jabs, and I'm asking for different medication. I said, I don't want that medication. I want this medication. And she wouldn't prescribe it. And so I fired her. And I think
Good.
millions of Americans were just shocked to no end at what we were actually dealing with.
It's John Rich and, of course, Dr. Simone Gold. John, you make a very good point. We wanted Trump to win in 2020, but I had Laura Trump on last week who said it really was better that he didn't, because we just got 4 years of misery and as you said, tyranny. We really learned a lot in those 4 years. So I think you and I and probably Dr. Gold wanted him to win 4 years ago, but the fact that he didn't really did benefit us, didn't it?
I think it did. I mean, I'll pitch it over to Dr. Gold, but I mean, I think in that window is when she realized, and she'll tell you in her own words, that something else had to be built. You have to come with options. You cannot just sit around and scream bloody murder about the stranglehold that they have on us, because that's not going to fix it. You have to come with an option and actually come with a better option than then. So I'll kick it over to Dr. Gold, and you tell him the story, because first of all, I consider you a hero to our country. You're a patriot. You've stood in the gap when everybody was coming after you. Your entire medical field, everybody is besmirching your name, dragging you through the mud, attacking you, and you stayed the course. And now here we get to be on with Joe Pags talking about this great thing you built. So go ahead, please.
Yeah,
Doc, I want to jump in. That was a great toss, John. And again, we've had Dr. Gold on before. You are stronger than the two of us put together, I think. Your backbone was just amazing through all of this. But as John said, we were lied to about the vaccines. We were lied to by all those alphabet agencies. We were lied to about ivermectin and hydroxychloroquine. So you've decided you're going to do Gold Care. So tell me what Gold Care is. And the fact that you're flying in the face of a medical and pharmaceutical industry combined and a government agency, a group combined, and you're doing it anyway, that blows my mind. So go ahead and take it from there.
Yeah, I mean, I think back during the COVID years, how many people contacted me? They would DM me on Twitter, emails, text messages, and they would have paid any price to have a doctor who would listen to them and put them first, and any price to the pharmacist to dispense medicines. So when I looked at that, I said, we can never let this happen again to Americans. We have to make sure that Americans can always access truth-telling doctors, unbiased doctors, independent doctors, and pharmacists who can give them what they need when they need it. So that is Gold Care. Gold Care gives you all the information you need, all the educational resources you need on really any medical subject, Joe. If you're wondering about Governor Newsom's, bird flu state of emergency over there
Right.
on the West Coast, we have information on that. If you want to know if Ozempic is good or bad, we have information on that. And then if you need to consult with a doctor, we've got that. We've got naturopathic doctors and traditional medical doctors like myself. And this is the Patriot solution. We provide you independent doctors. If you need medicines like ivermectin, hydroxychloroquine, we've got that. If you are curious about alternative cancer treatments, we've got that. We're not going to be propagandized anymore with no other solution in sight.
It is Dr. Simone Gold, the CEO of goldcare.com. It's also John Rich, music superstar. Dr. Gold, I want to go down that road a little bit. When did we become a medical or a healthcare system that didn't solve the problem anymore? We seem to be just offering up prescription after prescription just to keep us on these drugs, to keep the pharmaceutical company money flowing in, and the royalties going back to places like the NIH and Dr. Fauci. When did that change happen? It used to be that doctors like you wanted to solve my problem and cure me.
It happened exactly when the doctor stopped working for the patient. We no longer have doctors working for the patient. That's what's going wrong. We're having doctors working for insurance companies. We're having doctors working for corporations. The American people are confused because it may appear on the surface like your doctor's working for you. You meet with them for 10 minutes in their office. You think they're there for you. They're not. They're working for their paycheck like other Americans. Very sad. We've taken that back at Gold Care. The doctor works for the patient. And that's it. And that's the answer. You have to remove the middleman, the big insurance companies and the big pharma interests. You've got to remove them.
John alluded to this very, very directly, and for me, he could not be more right. I'm unvaxxed. I didn't know what was in it. I wasn't going to take it. I didn't know about the adverse effects, so I talked to Dr. Malone, who said, no, even though I've done mRNA technology, don't take the shot. I've talked to Dr. McCullough, don't take the shot. I talked to you, don't take it. When did we become an industry, a pharmaceutical industry, a big government industry, a medical industry that said, shut up and take it? Again, I've never had that happen before. Shut up and take it was never the option. There was always a second opinion I could get if somebody told me something that if I ask you what's in the food you're serving me and you won't tell me, I won't eat it. I mean, same thing with vaccines, right?
Yeah,
either one who wants to jump in.
I wasn't sure if John was going to take that. What you said made me sort of chuckle because Governor Newsom passed a law, which was short-lived 1 year because we sued and got rid of it. It was actually called No Second Opinion Law. That was the nickname for it.
What the hell is that?
They were actually outlawing doctors who were giving second opinions that didn't agree with government narrative. That didn't last very long. It expired in less than a year. We got rid of it. But the answer is the whole healthcare industry has changed. My father was a doctor, and goldcare.com is like a modern version of old-fashioned medicine. Okay. You and the doctor, that's it.
Well, let me ask you this, because I'm not sure exactly what it is, and I want everybody to go to the website, goldcare.com, goldcare.com. Is it a form of health insurance? Is it simply a direct link to great doctors that will tell you the truth, where you can get your medicines? What exactly is it?
I'm going to send that question to John, but right before that, I just want to say, if you want to be done with your health insurance, I'll teach you how. Gold Care will teach you how.
Nice.
But it's more that it's a compilation of independent physicians who are unbiased. And John, I think you should take that.
Yeah. Well, I'm a member. That's how I got involved in this. Obviously, the high school graduate who writes country songs for a living is hanging out with the PhDs, the doctors. But that's because the relationship is exactly what it is. She's the expert. I'm the patient. I go to her when I am having a problem. She would come to me if she needs me to write her a country song. I can write a pretty good one, So I am a patient. So Dr. Gold, I don't know how many doctors you now have associated with Gold Care, but it's page after page after page. Here's how it works, Joe. So I had a few questions about a couple of medications that I was put on back in my 20s. And I started reading about these medications and I went, there's some stuff about this I don't like. I don't want to be on these meds anymore, but I couldn't get any straight answers from my regular doctor. So I went on goldcare.com. It's $20 a month for your whole family or $10 for if you're single, one person. So I went for $20 a month, man, that's a hell of an ace up my sleeve for $20 a month. So I went on there and I started scrolling through all the doctors that work with Gold Care. And I found one, actually a whole group that dealt with the exact medication I was wanting to ask about. So I read some of their backgrounds and experience. And I said, I like that one. I'll pick her. So I picked her. I set up a 15-minute meeting. I had it the next day. I had my questions written down. And by the time the 15 minutes was up, I had answers to all of my questions that I could not get a clear one on the internet, and I could not get a clear one from my actual doctor.
I love it.
And then I told my wife about it. She goes, well, I'm going to set up an appointment because I've got about 20 questions to ask. So she's done 2 so far, and it is unbelievable. I mean, the reason I stepped into this with Dr. Gold is because I'm a regular guy out here. I'm a dad. You know, I went through what everybody else went through. I am not a doctor. I don't know what I'm looking at. And so to have a $20 a month deal where I can get a second opinion, and like Dr. Gold said earlier, if I want certain medications like ivermectin or hydroxychloroquine, and even if my doctor prescribes it, which he won't, the Walgreens and the Rite Aids and all those, they won't fill them anyway. And so Gold Care's actually got an entire stockpile of those types of medicines they can send directly to your house. Because guess what, Joe? They're not narcotics. They're not controlled substances.
Right.
Billions of people around the world every single day take hydroxychloroquine and ivermectin for parasites, to keep viruses under control. For goodness sake, my own grandfather in World War II took hydroxychloroquine every single day when he was in the Pacific so he wouldn't get malaria. That's how long it's been around, man. And so this whole thing has been a con. It's been a lie. It's been a manipulation and propaganda. And GoCare.com is the answer. It's kind of like the bank, Old Glory Bank, which we've talked about.
Yeah.
You know, that's an option from the woke bank system that we know has got us all targeted. Well, Dr. Gold here has come with a medical version of that. And that's why I'm taking time to tell people about it, because you really need to go on that site and check it out.
Goldcare.com. Go there right now. It's John Rich and Dr. Simone Gold. You know, you bring up an important point about hydroxychloroquine. We know that it works because it protects people from malaria in Africa. There's an African nation, it may be Nigeria, I'm not sure, but one of the nations has per capita the lowest concentration of COVID-19 at the height of the pandemic, because they were all taking hydroxychloroquine to protect them from the mosquitoes. So at the end of the day, they lied to us so badly. So Dr. Gold, let me bring you back in. They lied to us about social distancing. Fauci admits they just made it up. 6 feet, yeah, we'll just make it up. They lied to us about masks because the COVID particles are small enough to go through the mesh, so the mask didn't work. They lied to us about you couldn't have more than 10 people at Thanksgiving dinner. They lied to us that COVID came out at 10 o'clock at night at the bar. So you had to close the bar at 10 o'clock at night. So with all those lies that we know, what I just said is factually true. So with all those lies out there, how can we get people to start trusting again? I mean, maybe with Robert F. Kennedy Jr. getting in, who knows? Maybe with Trump getting in, we can reform the entire thing. But when you've got people at the NIH and other places getting royalties off of pharmaceutical drugs that John just talked about, these highly toxic drugs, when they're getting paid in government, why stop the lying? So when can we start believing them again, do you think?
Here's the answer. I'm going to quote our former president, President Reagan: trust but verify. You should not willy-nilly trust your doctor. I think most doctors should not be trusted. I was so alarmed and disappointed what I learned about doctors since 2020. They're not doing research. They're not thinking for themselves. They're following protocols. What you can do is access the medical system as an intelligent, educated consumer. That's what Gold Care does for you. You want to know what is all about bird flu? We've got it. You want to know about Ozempic? We've got it. Trust but verify. We will help you verify. Goldcare.com.
I think it's amazing. Goldcare.com. Go there right now. Go check it out. I think it's so important that we get educated. We were not educated going into the pandemic. And even President Trump, and I think he'll admit this, wasn't educated either. He just trusted Birx and Fauci and Adams. And those people all lied to him. They sped through something that would get everybody a whole bunch of money. And that's not okay. So you can get the truth at Goldcare.com. I really appreciate that. For those who are watching and listening, when they go there, can they also find out about the adverse effects of the shots? A lot of people watching and listening believe the lies, and it's not to their detriment. I get it. I understand it. They took the shot, maybe 2 shots, maybe another booster. Is there something they can go and learn at goldcare.com that will help them educate themselves about what they can do now to make sure that the adverse effects from those shots don't harm them and their families?
Absolutely. We are here to help you the way a doctor used to always be traditionally there to help patients. Somebody just DM'd me on Twitter. They had a question. Their wife had a reaction to the shot. I said, go to goldcare.com. He tweeted me back. He went there. He loved it. He already had his appointment. He got a prescription. He's so grateful. 100% we can help you. 100%. We built it for you. Joe, I invite you personally to discover it. John Rich would never put his name to something. He had to check it out himself. I encourage you to do the same. It's going to make it a level playing field for the average American and the elite expert. We can all be on the same playing field. We all can get access to the same information. You can make better decisions.
I'm signing up today. I mean, I'm not kidding. I'm going to go and sign up when we're done with this interview. And by the way, this is not an advertisement for those watching and listening. This couple of friends of mine that I wanted to bring on to talk about something amazing. John, you alluded to this. When a doctor prescribes hydroxychloroquine or ivermectin or whatever, the pharmacist should just fill it. Have you personally run into, because people here in San Antonio area where I am literally have announced, like through the media, I'm a pharmacist and I'm not going to fill it. I didn't know that they had the right to not fill it. Did you run into that too?
100%. Yeah, there's Walgreens all over the place in Nashville. None of them would fill those prescriptions. I finally found an independent doctor here in Nashville who's also a pharmacist. And he said, I've got it and I will fill it. Just come in and see me. Let me get your chart. Let me get you in the system and I'll do it. I sent everybody I knew to this guy. I probably sent 100 people to him.
Right.
And he's like, yep, I've got it. Again, these drugs, had they been allowed to have been used, would have voided the emergency authorization use of the vaccine. It would have voided it because you wouldn't need this emergency authorization if there's medication that will stop the virus, that will let you survive it. So I'll add one more thing to this. Everything about the situation we are talking about right now, everything violates literally every phrase in the Nuremberg Code.
Yes.
Go read the Nuremberg Code, people that are watching this interview. When you get through watching Joe, go on and Google the Nuremberg Code and just read it. It's only about 2 pages long. Every line in that is supposed to protect fellow human beings from coercion, from threat of taking an experimental medical procedure or medication. Every single line of it in the Nuremberg Code. And we all know what happened to the people that did those horrible things back in the day. So one of my hopes is that during the Trump administration, that these people are finally held to account. Because listen, if you don't hold these people to account and put the fear of God in every single last one of them, this will happen again. They will continue to dump diseases on our country. They will continue to keep you from getting what you need to get to survive it. And they'll just keep making trillions of dollars. So one of my biggest hopes is that situation gets rectified. Nobody has forgotten about it. Yeah, it was 3 or 4 years ago, but guess what? Even my own family members are still dealing with issues. I know one country singer who has not been able to tour since she got the vaccines because she's got myocarditis now, and her heart rate is so high when she gets on stage, she can't catch her breath. I mean, it has wrecked people, and that's the better outcome. Some people have actually died from it. A lot of people have. And so this is no BS, man. This is a very serious conversation. And so that's why I'm coming on with Dr. Gold. She's a PhD. She's a doctor, but I'm just a regular guy. I'm you, Joe. I'm everybody watching the interview right now. And that's why it was important to get this information out there.
It's John Rich and Dr. Simone Gold. Go to goldcare.com. Go check it out right now. Get educated right now. Sounds like it's a very low monthly fee to go and have somebody that you can actually rely on for these great medications. Dr. Gold, if you don't mind, one last question. We had a situation where one of our family members got COVID. And again, I've had COVID. I was back on the air a day later. Didn't have a voice the first day. Took ivermectin, took steroids, I took zinc, I took D3, and I was fine. And I'm 58 years old. So to prescribe these or to push these vaccines on anybody didn't make any sense to me, and certainly I wish that nobody got them. But having said that, when it comes to pharmacists, when a family member in Michigan got COVID, they went to a local pharmacist with a prescription from our doctor who does prescribe ivermectin. He believes in it. And the pharmacist literally said, "Is this for COVID?" And my family said yes. I wasn't there, but they said yes. It doesn't work for COVID. I'm not filling it. When did we get to a place to where they were allowed to do that? Do pharmacists really have the ability to say no to an FDA-approved drug that's won awards? Ivermectin has won awards for how well it takes on viruses. When did we get there to where they're allowed to do that?
A couple of things. Ivermectin won the Nobel Prize in Medicine in 2015 because it's such an outstanding drug, just to give everyone perspective. And second, Pharmacists, by law, are not allowed to interfere with a doctor's prescribing medication. They're only allowed to dispense and to clarify if there's any errors or they see a conflict. They acted in violation of pharmaceutical board laws, but
Wow.
nobody would enforce it. But I want to confirm for you that you are correct. A pharmacist is not allowed by law to interfere with a doctor's prescription. But they did it all over the country.
Doc, think about it. My doctor says, take this. The pharmacist doesn't say, well, what do you have? And why are you taking it? And what are you going to use it for? Are you going to sell it on the street?
Let me share,
it's not their business.
Joe, they're actually, let me be more specific. They're actually not even allowed to ask you your diagnosis. That has to do with privacy. People don't realize that because a lot of times, they will voluntarily say to a pharmacist, but a pharmacist is actually not allowed to ask you your diagnosis. All of that went by the wayside. Walgreens, CVS, the chains. So at Gold Care, we have solved that problem. We are paired with independent pharmacists. You will get what you need when you need it. But we also work to get you off prescription medicines.
Good.
If you can be off them. We don't want you to be a lifelong pharma, drug addict, basically.
Yeah,
That's not, we want you to be healthier.
Don't be a drug addict. That's the message from Dr. Simone Gold today. Listen, John, I'm going to ask you a dumb question. Did you ever mask up? Ever?
Well, I had to in some places to be able to walk in. I mean, if you want to go buy groceries, they're standing right there going, you don't put it on, you ain't coming in. I mean, I will say I'm still in a lawsuit right now over a concert that I refused to play because they changed the protocols post me signing a contract.
Yeah, that's
they
not
changed
okay.
the protocols at the venue that said all of the fans coming to the show had to show their medical papers and prove that they had been vaccinated.
That's
or
nuts.
had a negative test to enter the concert. And I said, that is in violation of all human rights. That is in violation of the Constitution. I'm not going to be involved in that. I'm not going to be the bait on the hook that gets my fans to maybe go do something they otherwise wouldn't do. I'm not going to do it. And these people sued me. They sued Big and Rich, sued me personally. And we're still in that lawsuit right now. So
Stunning.
I don't give a shit. How about that? I don't care. I would rather be on record that I was unyielding, unbending. I would not bend. I would not bend the knee to this. I will not do it. I did not do it, and I will not do it in the future. And again, that's why this is an important conversation with Dr. Gold. Had we had something like this prior to 2020, a lot of this stuff wouldn't have happened because what are you going to do? You can't force people to do something if they have an alternative.
No, I'm with you. The fact that you had to show some sort of a passport to go and eat lunch in New York City was sick. They were literally saying HIPAA doesn't matter. We get to know all your medical business, and that's not okay. The reason I ask about masking is I wore one when I flew once because you had to. I wore one when I went to a doctor's appointment once because you had to. But Dr. Gold, you referred to California a couple of times in this interview. H5N1 is not what they're pretending it is. By the way, it's a mutation that probably was done by gain of function. We're starting to find out more information that they're mutating it on purpose. Having said that, Newsom wants everybody to start masking up. In parts of California, they're actually saying in specific counties, you got to wear a mask again. I mean, is that as dumb as I think it is?
It's as dumb as you think it is. There is no human-to-human transmission. There was one person who died in Louisiana. This person handles sick and dead birds. I'm not kidding. Like, that's literally... Do you understand the lie? Yes. If you want the truth, goldcare.com, we do this. We actually did a whole big talk on bird flu. We want you to understand because we want to take away the fear. A lot of people complied with tyrannical orders because they were afraid. There were many, I think there's a lot more people that would side on the freedom side and would have the strength to stand up if they hadn't been so captured by fear. So we're combating the fear with hard information.
Well, let me ask you this, because that's a game changer. You literally have sections on the website, goldcare.com, where I can go and find out about H5N1, the latest on bird flu, the latest on COVID.
May I tell you, I'm going to challenge you now. You are going to love it. This is so up your alley. Once you become a member, you have access to like hours and hours and hours of lectures that we've done already, the webinars we've done. I think John actually listened in on our bird flu lecture, and you become informed. And you're not afraid and you're not even curious, and you can go talk about it on your show and you can inform all your listeners. You can get all the facts right there. And a lot of times we'll put a couple of doctors together. So you hear, a couple of different sides. We want the truth to be out there. And so we're building it, right? We're building it.
Well, John, as you said, we're a couple of regular guys. So we go there and we can get educated on this. You sat in on this seminar?
Yeah, I sat in on that one. It was probably about an hour long. And it was, like she said, I think it was 5 or 6 different doctors weighing in on it. These are all like specialists. These are experts in certain fields. and not redundant with each other. So they all come in at their expert level and tell you what you're actually looking at. And I'm like, wow, that was more information than I would have gotten trying to research this myself for probably months, and I still wouldn't probably understand most of it. I will say there is one crowd that I would always wear a mask around, and I suggest you do the same. And I don't care if there's a pandemic or not. If you ever have to go visit Congress for any reason, wear a mask, because that is the most toxic environment a person could ever walk into. God only knows what you might contract if you have to go sit in front of Congress. So mask up. I was hoping Pete Hegseth would mask up because listen, man, you don't know what's coming out. You got to be careful.
It's John Rich and Dr. Simone Gold. In the moments we have left, and I really appreciate you. Dr. Gold, by the way, the CEO of goldcare.com. Go to goldcare.com and find out all about this. Maybe this goes to a different place, and maybe this isn't involved in Gold Care, but we just saw the FDA preemptively, before RFK Jr. gets in, is now banning this red dye stuff. Is there information on goldcare.com? Maybe it's outside the purview. Maybe it's a bad question. But is there information about the stuff that we eat, what we take into our bodies? Like shredded cheese in some places has little particles of plastic to make sure that it doesn't stay together. Can we find out more about what's healthy to eat and intake?
Oh my God. So a huge portion of what we do is wellness. So it's Gold Care Health and Wellness. The health is more the disease orientation, and the wellness is just to keep you healthy and well. We have a huge emphasis on naturopathic doctors, functional doctors, diet, nutrition, weight loss. It's super important. For example, when we did the talk on Ozempic, the GLP-1 agonists, we know that America has an obesity problem, pre-diabetes, diabetes. It's a huge problem in our country, 2/3 of our nation. So what are we going to do about it? Is Ozempic the answer? Is it not? Are there natural GLP-1s? So yes, we have a ton of information on living a healthier lifestyle, living with better food choices. It's a huge portion of it.
Is that why John Rich is in such good shape all the time?
I know, he barely needed any help at all.
Well, you brought up Ozempic a couple of times, and this appeared to be a miracle drug, but now you can almost see when people are on it. They've got Ozempic face, in my opinion. When we go there, we can find out the ins and outs. Is it healthy? Is it not healthy? What is it doing? Because I don't even know how it works. I just know everybody's taking it.
Let me tell you what we do. A lot of people on my team, because we have a heavy emphasis on naturopathic and on wellness, right? So more people on our team didn't even want to talk about the pros or the benefits, but we are committed to doing the risks and the benefits so you as the patient can make informed choices. Diabetes, obesity is a big problem in this nation. And if you haven't been able to lose weight, it may be something you're considering and you need to be informed. So we do that for you. So you can learn a lot about the GLP-1 agonists. I'll tell you something I learned on that from one of my peers, one of the people who works for Gold Care. I did not know that there were GLP-1 agonists that were natural. I didn't know that.
Okay.
So it was absolutely fascinating. So back in the day, doctors used to tell you things that you needed to know, that you'd want to know. We've become completely protocolized and just to sell meds.
Right.
Why are we not communicating? So we do that at Gold Care. We teach you the good, the bad, the ugly, all of it.
CEO of goldcare.com. It's Dr. Simone Gold. It's also a music star, John Rich. John, while I have you, I'd be remiss if I didn't, before we ended here, ask you about your involvement going into the Trump administration. He just announced today that John Voight, Mel Gibson, and Sylvester Stallone will be sort of his emissaries that are his envoys to Hollywood to connect Hollywood and the new administration. Are you the music guy? I mean, I know that you're tight with the Trump administration. How are things looking for you in the next 4 years?
I'm sure Hollywood is so excited to have to listen to John Voight. I mean, and Mel Gibson. Oh yeah. I mean, they're so excited. The administration has reached out to me. A couple of folks have, and they said, let's get through this inauguration. We got a couple of ideas for you. I've got a couple of ideas for them. You know, my understanding of terrestrial radio and the record business is extensive.
Yes.
And there are some major issues going on in that whole relationship as it pertains to artists. Artists have been kicked around like tin cans now for about 25 years due to a lot of the abuses that are allowed to go on in that. So I'm hoping to be able to step in the field that I'm an expert in and make some great things happen.
It is John Rich, music star. Go and follow everything John does. Also, Dr. Simone Gold. She's the CEO of goldcare.com. Also, a best-selling author. Go and get her books as well. Dr. Gold, I appreciate you coming on. Everybody should go to Gold Care and check out more. Goldcare.com. And John, always a pleasure, my friend. Thank you both.
Thank you.
And before you let us go, give me one Papa Mau Mau.
Papa, Mau, Mau, giddy up. You know, it's funny because people, when I sing karaoke, they say, sing that song. I could never, ever be what Richard does on that song, but I appreciate you asking for it.